That's good.
You know, like you don't always get what you want, you get what you need. Yeah, you got to put the needs first.
All of us have a limited amount of time on the earth, and there are stages to life, and that's kind of the way society is set up, because you go to school for 12 years, right? Whether you go to college or not, but you're a young adult for a certain amount of time. Then you're an adult. Then you're a senior citizen. Those are the basic stages of life. Like there's no escaping that.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Dream Lifestyle Podcast, where in today's conversation, we're going to be talking about success at different life stages. And this is an important conversation because all of us have a process to our success. And it's important that we're aware and we really understand, and we're even just honest about the life stage that we're at, so we can really take full advantage of that stage and that we're not comparing and everything like that. So I got my guy, Kenny. Kenneth is here to talk about this with me. Both of us are in our late 20s.
Yeah.
All right. I'm 27. You're about to turn 28, right?
Oh yeah, birthday month. Got a couple weeks.
Goodness gracious. But so we're both 28 years old, but I think both of us as athletes, well, me a former athlete, you a current athlete, and just both men that want to live a life that God has for us, you know, we go through a lot of different changes, right? And I think with life stages, it's important that we have this talk because it helps with the decision making, you know, because, you know, when I was, let's say 18, the decisions that I was making was because it's like, well, I got time on my side, or just the opportunities.
The thought of time, at least.
Well, yeah, definitely the thought of time. But like, even like the opportunities change, right? Like the opportunities that are in front of us change as we go through the different life stages. Like, you know, for myself, now I'm in a position where, okay, gotta make money, gotta actually, I don't want to say be a man, but for lack of a better term, you gotta be a man, you gotta grow up and be an adult.
In that stereotypical sense, yeah.
Yeah, in the stereotypical sense, right? Where it's like, okay, I gotta be able to make a living for myself and, you know, and everything like that. You know, me about to get married, like that comes with the stage in life.
Yeah, that's a whole stage in itself.
Right, you know? And so I know for me, it's helped me. I think when I started really getting a better understanding of just the stage in life that I'm in and really just embracing that, it's helped me remain focused on what really matters. Because, you know, for me, like I can tell you for business, at least, when I first started my businesses, I was so like laser focused on like, no, I've got to reach it. I've got to reach a certain place. I've got to hit a certain mark with my businesses like right now. And you know, when I realized like, I'm still relatively young when it comes to business. And like, I've learned a bunch, like, you know, I've picked up a lot of information, but one of the things that really helped me like understand, like I started looking at the age group of a lot of the people I was learning business from, and they were all like in their 50s and 60s. And they were just now like running, you know, 7, 8, 9-figure businesses.
Okay.
And it's like, you know, as much as I like, and I want to get there, right? I want to make the money. It's kind of like they're in a much more advanced stage in life that I'm not at, right? And so I have to give myself a little bit of grace in the sense of like, listen, there's no reason I should be comparing where my business is at 4 years old, 5 years old, in comparison to someone that's been in business for over 20 some years.
Especially when you understand, and I'm sure you have, right? A lot of businesses don't even make it to 5 years.
Oh yeah.
You know, that's, you know, a lot of businesses don't make it to 5 years or fold, bankrupts, whatever within that time. So yeah, of course you got to give yourself, you know, some grace and just patience, you know, in that starting time. I think like, you know, the cliche of like, oh, it's a marathon, like not a sprint. But there's a lot of truth in that, because if you go out and you just try to, like you said, you want to hit this at the first year and this by the second year, and then you realize like, well, dude who is now on a 9-figure annual basis with his business, he's been going steady for 20 years, 30 years, a
good amount of time,
you know, and in those first 5 years, he might not have turned a profit. But it was just like, you know,
talk about
take a step. And if you just sprint if you just sprinting out those blocks sometimes, you could gas out.
Yeah.
So
100%.
Yeah, you got to understand that.
That was honestly even hard for me to accept the life stage I was at. You know what I mean? Just because, especially like if the previous life stage that you were in, there was like stuff that you left on the table, so to speak, right? Like for me, when I think back on the previous life stage of when I was an athlete, like I know that there's stuff I left on the table, right? Like I know it. And so walking into this new life stage is kind of like, okay, I want to walk into this new life stage, but like there's stuff back there that I want to get, right? Like I want those experiences. And it's like almost a level of acceptance and gratitude that you have to exercise in order to properly move on to the next life stage and just really embrace it. Like I talked about before, because ultimately life's going to go on.
It doesn't stop.
Yeah, it doesn't stop at all. And if I were to stay stuck in trying to get what I missed in the last, then, I'll miss this stage that I'm in, right? And actually enjoying everything. Or I would probably leave more on the table in this stage just because I'm still trying to get what I felt like I left in the last stage.
Yeah, you got to understand like where you're at, what you need to leave behind. There's definitely some things that you probably do need to bring with you.
Oh, yeah.
Whether it's like a tangible, like actual physical thing or, just like lessons you learned or whatever. But there's definitely, I think that's one thing people like in different life stages, the like not knowing what to bring with them from what they learned in the past and what to just like, I got to leave that behind, like, you can't keep doing this or can't keep thinking that way going into like whatever, like the next stage, or you're not, like you said, you're going to miss out on what the success and the lessons are going to be in the stage that you're going into or that you're in now.
That's so good. I think what you said makes me think about like the importance of identity. You know what I mean? Like really getting clear about, okay, this is who I am today, but then also even accepting that's who I was. Like for me, I was a high level basketball player. I was a professional basketball player. And I got to leave that behind just because ultimately who I am today, in order for me to fully take advantage of this life stage, like I have to embrace the fact that I'm a man who loves God, who puts God first in everything that I do. And I love running businesses. And that is what allows me to fund my life. That is what allows me to, I'm not going to say it allows me to have my fiance, but like, you know what I mean? Like I'm able to embrace that side of my life and have the time for that in my life because it's like, you know what? I'm focusing on building a company. I'm focusing on having an amazing relationship with my fiance and my family and friends and everything like that, just because that's the stage in life that I'm at. And I could get distracted by, well, I want to keep pushing for another contract or I want to keep seeing another opportunity where I'm spending thousands of dollars that I really didn't have to get maybe an opportunity by a shiesty agent or whatever the case may be, right? And it's like you sacrifice so much and it's like it just might not be worth it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
What did you bring with you from that end of basketball stage that you continue to use or at least like pull from now?
For me, really just the work ethic and the mindset behind it all. Because ultimately, I always knew that my basketball career would end at some point, right? And I knew that it wasn't going to be the majority of my life. For me, it was, let me just get everything I can out of this thing while it's still here. But when I think back on just the things that I'm using today that I got from my basketball career, it is the mindset of basically you get what you work for. The mindset of, okay, if I put time, energy, and effort into this thing, I'll get better at it. And if I'm around the right people, like I'll be able to take and glean from their performance. That way I can tailor it to my own so I can get like those same type of results. And that's like just some of the few lessons that I've learned. And the thing is, those lessons that I learned from basketball in that previous life stage have almost like dispersed among different areas of my life.
Okay.
Right? Like that mindset piece and the effort piece that I learned from basketball, I apply that to my relationship with my fiance. I apply that to my relationship with my family and friends. I apply that to my businesses. I apply that just to myself, right? Like just having the mindset to say, you know what? If I put time, energy, and effort, and it doesn't mean like I put like large amounts of time into it, but it's like, as long as I'm intentional with, okay, spending time, as long as I'm intentional with learning, gleaning, all the stuff, then I'm going to end up getting better. And ultimately, like for me, I know that's one of my biggest goals in life is just to be the best version of myself possible, right? And I always say like just the version, whatever God created me to be, that's what I want, right? Like that is my ultimate goal. That's the only thing I'm quote unquote chasing, right? And there are definitely things that I want in life, but ultimately I'm at the stage in my life where it's like success for me looks like how aligned I am with God, but then also the quality of the relationships that I have. And on top of that, even just the impact that I'm able to have on other people's lives.
Yeah,
lives.
I think
You know
that's
what I
a
mean?
big one. That's a big one for me, for sure.
Yeah. So I like with that, talk with me about just what life stage are you at? Because I know you're in a different life stage than me because you're still playing.
Yeah.
So how do you navigate that? Because you like, how do you navigate just your, I guess, definition of the life stage that you're at?
Well, I mean, like you said, I think I'm definitely in the latter half of the athlete, career stage. And I mean, I put that on myself. When I got out of college, got my first pro contract, finished that season, I told myself like, I would love to push this till I'm 30 and then, reassess from there.
Yeah.
So obviously, like you said, boom, you're gonna be 28 this month. 30, 30 is not far off,
Right.
But I know I have, these next few seasons, that I told myself like I want to get you here, get through these, these ages. So yeah, I think now being in like the latter part of what I want to do in my athletic career, I know I have to, not that I'm giving up on it by any means, but I know that there's things that I have to already start transitioning into to set up that next life stage. You know what I mean?
Right.
With finances and personal relationships and business ventures and all that kind of stuff. Just setting some of those things in motion now, so then when boom, okay, helmets off, pads and cleats are off for good, this is what it's already set up what's gonna be next.
That's good.
Already set up that boom, we're gonna be running a business here and working here and passive side income here and living here or whatever it is.
There's nothing worse than like, and this is in any lane, so it's not like a general thing with your life stages, but like if you don't prepare for that transition, like that gets so muddy.
Just like a stop, and then like try to start something. I mean, there's definitely people who can do it. You know what I mean? I'm
not one of them.
Yeah, no, I
need to prepare for what's next.
Yeah, I don't think I am. I don't think I am either. I think there's definitely people who, okay, boom, this life stage, I'm all in it for while I'm in it, and then once it's over, it's done, and then it's next.
Right.
But for me, it's like, okay, I know this is coming like towards the end of this, so I got to set up for what's next.
Yeah.
Or what I see that God has for me next. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think just like you said, like preparing for, the end of one stage to set up into the next stage. That's like, that's like that space that I'm in now. So just trying to build things up, and not that what's next is, it's not at the forefront just yet, but as this stage, when this stage does come to a close, it's boom.
Right. Just right. And smooth transition into the next.
Okay. Now this, what was priority, 3, 4, 5 now is like 1A and 2.
Gotcha. I like that. And I think also too, it's important to make sure that you're also being prayerful through your life stages. You know what I mean? Because, ultimately all of us are in God's will, right? Like everything that we do is in God's plan. So for me, I might have thought, all right, I'm going to play until I'm 30. You have your plan until 30, right? And there's nothing wrong with us, quote unquote, making plans, right? It says in Proverbs how we make plans, but God checks the heart.
Oh yeah. So yeah, if boom, if I get to 30 and it's like, well, now you got this opportunity and that, and I'm going to, okay, now, like I said, I'm going to have to reassess and be like, all right, God, well, now, okay, well, where do you want me to go from here? If it's not, cut this out and keep, do something else. Well, like, okay, all right, well now, okay, well, I'm still playing here or maybe coaching here. Or,
you just never really know, right? Like, and it's like you want to set the goal or the expectation, right? At least when you're thinking about like overall life stages, right? So in practical terms, that's when people talk about, 5-year plans, 10-year plans and everything. But it's like you almost don't want to be married to that plan either. Because you just never know, like, to your example, right? Like, you never know what opportunity could present itself. You just never know what could happen, right? For all of us, one phone call could change everything.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And that could be perceived as a good thing or a negative thing. But it's like, ultimately, yeah, you can plan, okay, for my 20s, I'm going to do this. For my 30s, I'm going to do this. While I'm at this job, I'm going to do this. Whatever it is. But it's personally, I'm of belief, you just gotta remain faithful to whatever it is God's telling you to do. And I think that's where you deal with on a spiritual level of really being able to hear his voice and really listening to the Holy Spirit about, okay, what should I be doing? What should I be focusing on? And he'll tell, like, he talks. He his children know his voice.
It's just like any other relationship. You know what I mean? If you are truly tapped into that relationship, you're gonna, especially when it comes to your relationship with God. If you're tapped into that relationship, he's gonna be, the more you're tapped in, the more he's gonna be tapped in.
Yeah.
The more you'll be able to, hear that voice and communicate with him on an efficient level and, understand, what those next steps are, or what is next in line.
That's good. And I think, and also too, like, I want to make this clear in case there's like anybody listening, like, we're not saying Holy Spirit, listen to the Holy Spirit in like some spooky sense. Like it's like some like genie in a bottle or anything like that in the morning.
No, it's definitely not. It's definitely not.
But it's like on a very practical level, right? Like, think about this, right? When we were younger, you might have done something that you knew your parents didn't approve of, and you still did it. But like while you were doing it, there was like this tightness of chest, like this disruption of like, I probably shouldn't be doing this, but like I'm gonna do it just cut, right? You know what I mean? And it's like it the same applies to us now that we're in our later 20s, but the same is true. Like if we were at a job that we knew, all right, it's time to move on from this, right? Like there would be a level of discomfort about going there, right? And it's like the type of discomfort that you can't really name, right? You can't really put words to it. Like you kind of like
it just feels off. It just
exactly. It just
feels off. It feels a little bit wrong. And I think everybody's been there. In whether you are like whether you do have that relationship with God or not, I think you might not have understood that feeling or that thought process as much, but you still be like, well, okay, this like you said, if it's a job or whatever, and it doesn't really feel right, but I'm just gonna like stick it out, and then in the end, there are still some positives that come out of it.
Absolutely, yeah,
but
absolutely.
You maybe or probably missed out on some other opportunities that were supposed to come your way, or that did come your way, or different things got set back, or all that kind of thing. So like you said, it's not like a genie in the bottle kind of thing.
Yeah, no, not at all.
If you're even if you're not, you probably still had that feeling of like your gut feeling.
You know what? That makes me think, when I was in 4th grade, I'll never forget this. Mr. Genovese, he always used to tell us, he's like, if ever your instinct is telling you to do something, go with that. And that's just on a natural level, what we're talking about. In the spiritual level, we know that's basically the Holy Spirit and God talking to you. But on a natural level, it's like, just basically go with your gut. Whatever your instinct is telling you to do, like, go with it. Right. And that's in the lens of, making a decision. And in this case, we're talking about it in the lens of understanding the life stage that you're at, because ultimately, it looks crazy if you are trying to live in a previous life stage.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like for us, that's like when you got people that are, 27, 28, even 30, still living like they're 21. You know what I mean? Like it's just
I
there's
talk to my mom about this sometimes. She's like, I don't understand how these, she's like, they not still in college. What do they think they doing? But I'm like, I don't get it either.
Yeah, it
You know
makes
what I mean?
no sense.
And not, everybody progresses on different levels.
Absolutely.
And,
Yeah, but we give grace. Everybody does progress.
Everybody progresses on different levels. But like, I think that just goes back to what we said before. There are, if you want to progress like smoothly, especially, or efficiently into what you're doing next after a certain stage, there's some things you gotta leave behind.
You gotta let it go,
or it's gonna be like,
it's gonna be rough.
You're gonna be like floating in between.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, you're gonna be in like, it's gonna be rocky, or it's gonna be like, oh well, why is this not happening? Why is that not happening? Like I'm doing this, and it's like, but you're also still doing this.
Yeah,
like
right.
if you're on a you got a solid job, but you got to go in at 7:00, but you're still going out and partying and drinking all the time,
right,
until 2-3 o'clock in the morning. It's like, well, why is this? Why am I not like?
Right. They don't.
Why am I not enjoying? Why am I not enjoying this? Why is it so hard for me to wake up? Why am I not sleeping well?
It's like, well, you're not young anymore.
There is a direct correlation 100%. Sometimes that if you can't see it,
listen, life will show it to you.
Yeah,
well, I think even to that person though, I think they're dealing with a level of the fear of leaving that life stage, right? Like it's either the fear of having to leave that person behind, right? That person that, let's say, we'll just stereotype it, of 21, could go out, quick recovery, all of that, right? Like we've been there, right?
Yeah.
But it's either that side where they're afraid of leaving that person behind because, like, whether it's, well, that person was fun and expressive and adventurous, all that type of stuff, right? Like, I don't want to leave that. Or it's a fear of what potentially is next, right? Not even wanting to identify, well, this is who I'm either becoming, or this is who I want to be, or anything like that. So to the point where you deal with those people that are, 45 acting as though they're 25, right? Like, and again, that's not condemnation or anything like that, because I think this is a real thing that I think more people need to think about and consider, because again, ultimately, all of us are human beings and all of us have a limited amount of time on the earth, and there are stages to life. And that's kind of the way society is set up, because you go to school for 12 years, right? Whether you go to college or not, but you're a young adult for a certain amount of time. Then you're an adult. Then you're a senior citizen. Those are the basic stages of life. Like there's no escaping that. Yeah. Do you know what you want to accomplish in the new year, whether it be personally or professionally? If you're trying to figure it out, I'm encouraging you to get your ticket to the Dreamer Symposium. This is going to be your space to get really clear on what you want to do, where you are, and you're going to leave with a practical success strategy. And there's going to be an accountability system for the entire year to make sure that you complete it, so that way you elevate your life. All you have to do to get your ticket is go to dreamersymposium.com right now so you can register. I want you to be there because I want you to level up. I want you to go to the next level in your life. I want you to level up in your finances, level up in your personal life, level up in your professional life, level up your overall level of being. And you have to go to the Dreamer Symposium to do that. So go to dreamersymposium.com, get your ticket. Now let's get back to the episode.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, everybody moves on their, on a different time frame, especially when you are, consider yourself like a child of God's kingdom, because you understand that His time is much, much different.
Oh yeah. No, you'd rather be on His time for sure.
And like you said, child, teenager, young adult, on your own, senior citizen.
Yep.
And I mean, those are definitely like set things that are more of like societal, but they're that's just kind of how it goes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And of course, you see the you see sometimes, there's that 18-year-old who didn't go to college, but already is running a business and then starts a family, and they're,
Facts.
at a different, like life stage earlier than some of their peers. And, but then, you get the 50-year-old who, was a lot, stayed young, I guess, and is still doing,
still doing well for themselves,
still doing
for sure.
well. So, there's, everyone's going to be different in that sense.
Yeah.
But I think it's just understanding like where you are and what you want to, how long you want to stay in this stage. And if you're comfortable with that and you accept that, then okay, then there's no problem with it.
Yeah.
But if you're trying to, go into something else, but you're still, you're staying back in some area of your life, then yeah, you're not gonna fully transition or ever fully get into that next, stage of your life.
That's so
or,
true.
or you're at least not gonna be probably comfortable and successful in it.
Yeah. And I think even to piggyback on that, right? Like success at each life stage, and we've kind of mentioned it, success at each of the different life stages takes a level of acceptance and listening to your heart, right? Like but in a really genuine way, like not like well, I want to still do, but it's like really in your heart, what are you feeling led to do from a purpose standpoint? For us as believers, we say that in the sense of, well, what's God telling me to do? But wherever you stand in your faith, it's just whatever that thing is that is like almost a burden on your heart to do, regardless of whatever life stage you're at, that's what you should do. And really accepting like, okay, this is where I'm at, right? In a super simple example where it's like physically, right? Like physically, the things that I was able to do at 18, you're not going to catch me doing at 27. Like, and you know what I mean? Like, and the same will be true when I'm 37 and 47. Like, no, because, we were 17, 18, touch your toes 10 times. We can go out and play for the next 4 hours. Now, yeah, where's the dynamic warm up? Where's the roller, right?
You need that full 15, 20 minutes
Yeah,
to get yourself set and
the
going.
next decade is going to be, I holler at y'all and watch from the side. But, like, it's a level of being successful ultimately is like your ability to be effective at each life stage.
Yeah, I think that's good. Like, yeah, being effective. I think that's big. And because you always get the, oh well, let me just go throw my knee brace and my shoes on.
Right.
I'll show you how I was doing it in my 20s. Well, okay,
right.
And now we gotta call the ambulance.
Right, you done tore your Achilles.
Yeah,
tore up every muscle in your knee.
Yeah, we gotta carry you off of wherever we at. So like you said, being effective at what you're doing in that life stage is, I think that's even almost more important, and realizing like, okay, yeah, I can still do this. But I need, to do something different, or, I could, whatever it is, like still being effective at doing it.
Yeah. Because there's a piece that comes with that, right? Like there's a piece that really comes with that acceptance as well as the being effective piece, right? Like when you learn to accept whatever stage you're at, and you're then able to plan accordingly, right? We talked about in the previous episode about how you want to work smart, not hard. And working smart has to do with kind of just knowing how you work. And you got to know your limitations. You got to know your capacity and your ability and everything, right? So if I know when I'm at 27, I know that I have more energy. So that means my capacity is at a greater amount. So that means, okay, I can do more. I can stay up a little later, sleep less. But I also know in a decade, I won't really have that ability just from a physiology, like, from a physical standpoint. That won't be, I'm not gonna say it won't be possible, but I'll say it won't be as likely.
Yeah.
And that's okay, right? But as long as I accept it of saying like, okay, when I'm 40, all right, bedtime is gonna need to be 9 p.m.
For sure.
Wake up time can be like 4 a.m., but bedtime is going to need to be about 9 p.m. And that's just what it's going to have to be. And I can be effective in the way in which I maneuver that life stage when I'm actually there. But now at 27, I can say, look, I can go to bed at midnight. I can go to bed at 1, still wake up at 6 and like probably would need a coffee now at this stage, as opposed to when I was younger. I could just do it.
But you're gonna be able to be efficient and crank out everything you need to do for that day and set out the plans and not have no issues.
Exactly. And so, you know, when we're talking about life stages, it is really just a matter of being super honest about just whether it's leaving a life stage and walking into a new one, being honest about the life stage that we actually are in, and basically planning accordingly, you know, so that we can ultimately be effective in that life stage and really be successful at that life stage. So
yeah, and I think what you want, like, also does go into that life stage, but you have to understand like what is set out for you and what you need before that.
That's good.
You know, like you don't always get what you want, you get what you need. Yeah, you got to put the needs first.
If you're looking for accountability, you need to check out the Dream Society. For $20 a month, you can join a community that will give you the support that you need and the accountability that you need to hit your goals every single week. And for $20 a month, it is the best investment that you will ever make in yourself. So I want you to go to dreamsociety.info right now to join, and let's get back to the episode. Yes.
And then you can incorporate the wants, because, you know, they might go hand in hand, or they might like add into the necessities. But if you're mixing up those priorities, then, you know, then you're
and the thing is too, right? Like, practical example to everything that you just said, right? Like, we're 27. We still may have all the energy in the world to go out, hang out, have fun. We need money.
Oh yeah, but you also need money for your bills.
Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, we have bills. We got responsibility. You need money. So in terms of the needs, you better have a way to make money.
Yeah.
Right? Like, whether it's you have a job, a side hustle, whatever
it is,
you better have a way to make money. And, you know, when you figure that out, then you can deal with the wants of the life stage of we can still hang out and everything like that. But yeah, at this life stage, you better figure out how to make money. And that's not something that people should feel bad about, or, you know, kind of, they shouldn't mourn the fact that they're in a new life stage where, oh man, well, I just wanted to have fun. And me and my friends, we used to be able to just have all this fun for free and everything. It was like, we not there no more. And that's okay.
But if you got a good group of friends who maybe, like, you know, we're in different stages, but I can go to you and ask you, like, okay, well, boom, you transition to this from here.
Yeah,
you know, like, well, true. You know, how do I do this? How do I increase my credit? And how do I, you know, how do you buy a car on your own the first time? You know, you go to the first time you go to the delership, and
right?
How do I take out a mortgage on a house, or, you know, finance this lease, or some of those things? You know,
absolutely.
if your group of friends should be people who, not everyone's going to walk at the same time, right? You know, in the same, you know, at the same pace. So if you got 2-3 friends who one of them's 5 steps ahead and they have already accomplished this, and one of them's just right before you, right? Those should be at least some of the people who are like, bro, you better do this. This is what you need to do.
Right.
If you want to buy this apartment or whatever,
right?
Like,
whatever move you're trying to make.
Yeah, you need to do this. Like, you need to have people around you, and, you know, you need to have that circle that is also progressing. Or, because if your circle's not progressing into like a different stage, you're all just going to stay in the same, you're all just going to stay in the same stage, saying is doing same things. And like, yeah, it might be fun or it might be cool, but then it's going to be like, you're going to get there. You will get to some point. It's going to be like, well, what are we doing?
Right. Not even what are we doing? What am I doing?
Yeah. Like, what am I doing? And what are we like?
Yeah. You're going to encounter some sort of situation, and you're just going to be like, yo, what? Why am I here? How am I here?
What am I doing? Why am I here? Like,
there was no preparation.
Yeah. You're going to have some kind of, I guess,
epiphany.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like you're going to have some kind of enlightening moment of like, yeah, what am I doing? Why am I here? And, you know, what's next? Because I have no clue now. I know I can't continue to do this.
Oh, facts.
But
facts.
Now I don't know what's next. So yeah, I think you got to have some people around you that are also, progressing and taking steps into the next stage or transition into the next stage that can, hand off some wisdom.
Yes.
I mean, obviously it's easy, you can always, your parents say, well, you can ask me anything, but it's like, I don't want to you don't necessarily want to ask mom and dad, exactly. But the other thing is because things change,
right?
The way our grandparents bought a house,
totally.
to the way our to the way
back
our
then used to be like $7,500
and going to college, and you could go buying a house or take getting a student loan for college or getting a line of credit and buying a car, like all those things used to be way different.
Wait, bro,
the price set used to be way different. The process was different. Now they might not understand how to do that now.
Yeah.
Especially because, I mean, I'm not trying to call out any specific, like producers or manufacturers, but they make things to not last anymore.
That's a fact.
Fact. When our grandparents, they made things
to last.
They still do.
Yeah.
But you want to get something new.
Yeah.
You got to understand that, how to go about getting that thing new. And that's going to be that's a different process than what our parents went through or grandparents went through. So you need someone who's closer in your age range and understands it to give you those gems.
Man, that's really good, because I think you're touching on the fact that along with the life stages, you're dealing with like world stages, right? Because ultimately the world changes, the economy changes, culture changes, society changes constantly,
all the time,
all the time. and that plays a role.
Yeah, if you don't keep up with it, like you're going to be lost. You're going to be left behind.
Absolutely.
There's definitely things that you're still going to learn things and take things from from parents or grandparents or older siblings or whatever. But yeah, you can get lost in the sauce if you're just thinking like, okay, when it's my time, I'm gonna have my parents help me buy,
right. My parents will help me teach me, and it's like, nah, they're gonna look at you. All y'all gonna be confused.
Exactly.
Everybody's gonna be like, wait, you do what?
Exactly.
A down payment is what? The interest rates are what?
Especially, I mean, just on a basic level, right? When you were growing up and you come home in 6th, 7th grade with some homework, and you're like, oh, mom, can you help me with this? And then they looking at it like,
that's a good example. Yeah.
What class is this for?
Where you'd be like, algebra. Like, this don't look like the algebra.
Exactly.
Right. This don't look
like the algebra I had to learn. Well, it's the same thing, later on in life. Mm-hmm. This don't look like the papers I had to fill out or
talk about it.
Especially, now, we got things going digital, only online.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
There's people our age who like writing people. We don't necessarily need to write checks for how many things.
Yeah, that say it's few things
was
you
the
would actually write.
That was the only way. Mm-hmm. There used to be people who would write checks for their groceries.
That's a fact. No, that's so good. That's a fact.
You can
really write in the grocery store. Write a check.
You can no longer write a check for your. Well, I'm pretty sure you can't.
I don't think you can. I don't know.
Yeah, but that used to be a common thing.
Yeah,
just take out your checkbook. Right at the grocery store and give it to the cashier.
I know dudes used to scam off that. They used to just write the check. They know it's going to bounce.
Exactly.
To show, like, we got to get these groceries.
But, that's not a thing anymore.
Yeah, they would look at you crazy if you pulled out a checkbook today, I think.
That's not a thing anymore.
Yeah.
So you got to, good, bad, or indifferent, like you got to keep up with, the world changes to understand, like, to also understand how you're gonna progress in your life.
That's good.
Life stages.
That's really good, because I think that speaks to, again, just the being effective and successful in your life stage, like looking and paying attention to like your own internal world, right? Understanding that life stage, but also paying attention to the world, the external, right, and how all of them work together. So that way, in the example you gave, where to get information from, and how to get information. You just know how to maneuver and things like that. So that's really good, man. So we talked about success at life stages, how it starts with, again, understanding what stage in life you're at, being honest about it, not being afraid to let pieces of your past go, but then also even understanding the world around you and how that works in combination with you being honest about the life stage that you're in. So that's good, man. That's good. So look, I hope that you guys enjoyed this conversation as we talked about success at different life stages. We'll see you guys next week. Sign up for the Dreamer Symposium, link in the description below. And always remember, your dream is possible as long as you are willing to work for it. We'll see you guys next week.